Begin tonight with breaking news. A federal appeals court has blocked Judge Charles Breyer's order to put Governor Gavin Newsom back in control of the National Guard. Good evening. I'm Marcella Lee.
I'm Carlo Cicchetto. In just the past few hours, a U.S. appeals court has decided to allow President Donald Trump to keep control of the California National Guard in Los Angeles. CBS 8's Richard Allen is here to break down the decision with more on the broader implications in this case. Richard.
And Carlo, Marcella, that's right. Now, in this ongoing legal test between state rights and federal rights, President Trump has scored a victory, at least for the time being. This evening, an appeals court halted a decision made by a lower court judge who had found that President Trump acted illegally by deploying National Guard troops following protests in Los Angeles over immigration raids. Now, that deployment of thousands of state National Guard troops was the first by a president without the governor's approval since 1965. In this appeals court's decision, the judges came to the conclusion that, quote, it's likely the president lawfully exercised his statutory authority in federalizing control of the National Guard, and that Governor Newsom had no power to veto the president's order. President Trump had essentially argued that the troops were necessary to restore order, while Governor Newsom argued that this move usurped local authority and also wasted resources. We spoke this evening with legal analyst Dan Eaton, who says this decision will have wider implications on the president's power beyond just the enforcement of immigration law.
Bottom line is that the president is likely to have a freer hand in dealing with disruptions to his efforts to enforce federal law, not just in California, but assuming other courts follow this ruling by the Ninth Circuit, other states as well.
And both sides are scheduled to be back in court tomorrow for a hearing on this matter, although this appeals ruling means that control of the California National Guard will stay in federal hands as this lawsuit continues to unfold.
So, Richard, this is a clear victory for President Trump.
Yes.
What are the options now for Governor Newsom and the state of California?
Well, California could ask the full appeals court to rehear this matter. They could also go directly to the Supreme Court. We asked our legal analyst, Dan Eaton, tonight. He thinks it's unlikely, probably unlikely, that California will decide to appeal this ruling.
There's been a lot of back and forth between President Trump and Governor Newsom. Have we heard from Governor Gavin Newsom since this big ruling, big loss?
It is a loss, yeah, and he acknowledged that. He said he is disappointed, but he also said that, and this is a quote from X tonight, Donald Trump is not a king and not above the law, and he promised that he will continue to make sure to check his authority. So, I mean, this battle isn't over necessarily.
We'll see what happens next.
All right.
Thanks, Richard.
Thank you.